The possessed soldier presents us with two difficult colours while having large black areas around them. This means we're going to have to undercoat the brighter colours with something that will cover the black primer better and work as a base for them. This undercoat won't appear at all on the finished model, but it will cut down the number of layers we need on the flesh colours. We're going to start the flesh with a coat of Crusted Sore. This is pretty good coverage for red and will work as a good base for the infected flesh. Keep your paint thin and apply 2 or more coats if you need them. Make sure to cover all the flesh areas and pay attention to the fingers as they're easily missed. Since the possessed soldier has a lot of overlapping detail, we want to paint the armoured plates leather brown to define them from the flesh. This will save us time painting fleshy areas which should be armour and vice versa. Once you have the 3 different areas defined, we're going to move back to the flesh. We cover all but the deepest areas with tanned flesh. This may take 3 or 4 thin layers to get a smooth coat, but it can be helped. Wait for each layer to fully dry before applying the next. It can be a good idea to paint these models in batches of 5, so when the last model is finished, the first will be dry and you can proceed with the next coat with no downtime. Starting with a 50-50 mix of tanned flesh and skeleton bone, we're going to define the muscles. This layer should cover the top side of all the muscle bulges and start giving shape to the jaw and back. Don't forget to highlight the growth on the left thigh or the left kneecap growths. The knee pad areas won't need much highlighting after this. Now with a 75 to 25 mix of skeleton bones tanned flesh, repeating the highlighting but on a smaller area. Focus on the upper area of the curves and the outer edges of the thigh bumps. Final highlight of the skeleton bone with a very small amount of tanned flesh mixed in is the last step for the skin. This should be hitting only the most extreme points like the knuckles and the upper lip. The UAC enemies all have enough beige colour armour. The easiest way to achieve this is to mix uniform grey and skeleton bone in a 50-50 ratio. It's fine if you leave a little of the leather brown in the panel lines and recesses, will make the armour look like individual plates, but if you can't do this, we have a final step which will add definition coming up. An 80 to 20 ratio of skeleton bone to uniform grey gives us a highlight colour, and apply this just like the flesh. Focus on the upper areas where the light will hit the most, while leaving the lower areas with the previous mix. We follow this with a 90 to 10 mix of skeleton bone to uniform grey. This should be used just on the edge of plates, focusing especially on sharp corners. Up until this point, we've ignored the pipes sticking out of the soldier, but it's time to slap some paint on them. Starting with a layer of matte black, we're going to add a 50-50 mix of Necromancer's cloak to it for a highlight. It's important to keep a sharp line here. Do a single pass over to cover the majority of the pipe, and use small strokes to get to the edge. Once you've found the edge, and you've lined your brush up, carefully draw it across the rest of the pipe to create one continuous line. A patchy line will really stand out here. It's better to have a crisp line and not have the deepest parts of the pipes painted than it is to have a patchy line. If you get any black on the flesh, just go over with tanned flesh to fix it. Adding a little shading around the pipes with an extra thin paint will also add some nice depth to these parts. The gun has a lot of straight edges. If you use the side of your brush, you can create an even thickness to the highlights along them. The legs have a lot of detail on them, and they will require you to use the tip of the brush to highlight. If you focus on the top edge and the sides, you won't need to do the bottom edges of any of the panels. want to call the miniature done at this stage, you can. This would be considered a tabletop standard model, and it's a respectable paint job for any painter, but we can add a little extra detail using an ink wash to match the in-game detail a bit better. Army Painter Strong Tone is designed to shade large areas quickly to speed up painting armies, but we're going to use it to paint the armour plates here and make them look dirty. Taking a small brush, we apply a little of the wash to the areas we want to dirty up and leave it to dry. It'll pull in the recesses and darken the overall colour, while keeping the highlighting and shading we've already applied. On the larger flat surfaces, it will pull and create brown patches. While this would normally be a bad thing and should be avoided in most cases, we want it here. It's a good example of how mistakes on one model can become techniques to use on a later model. Finally, we paint the red plate on the armour with Crusted Sore, and a possessed soldier is finished, with the usual Necromancer cloak basing. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them in a comment below. If you like this video, please consider subscribing, liking, and visiting our sponsors below to help us keep making more.